Hey guys, well today we're going to have another little talk session about one of the most exciting things on the Casita, the hot water heater. Now this looks a little different than what you're used to, of course, because I have some things disassembled. I have the anode out, as you can see there, and I also have the heating element out, as you see here. Now, I've had my trailer in storage for a while, and of course I had it winterized, but I did not have any water in the tank, of course. First I had just a rubber plug in here, and I saw a lot of corrosion starting to happen on the outside of this tank, around the threaded opening here. So I thought maybe it would be better to keep a anode in place in here, even though there was no water in the tank. Not thinking the anode would do anything. Well, surprise, surprise, either there was enough water left in the tank or something else is going on, but as you can see here, the anode was very busy, and even when I tried to take this out, it was blossomed with these huge white crystals growing off the sides of this thing. So I actually had to kind of like pull and break them as they came out. So it was very busy making this weird white crystal. I'm not sure what it is. It's lightweight. There may have been a little water and coolant in the bottom here, but not much. So I'm at a loss as to what this is. It essentially acted like growing sugar crystals, essentially. So there was humidity in there, of course. So maybe some of you guys out there know what this is or what happened here. I really don't know. But I do not think I will store it with the anode rod in it anymore, even when the water is out. Now, one of the things I did is I put a shut-off valve on the hot water exit, because that valve used to leak water in once it was winterized, or leak coolant in. That's another video, but I think that's a good plus. So it really isolates this tank as it should be, because of course you have the shut-off, the bypass on the bottom, but then there was none on the top, and it's just a gate valve there. So anyway, so when I took out the anode, I could see, there was a ton of this white crap material all over the inside here, so I had to flush the heck out of it with our trusty little flusher wand, which I think you've seen before, but in case you haven't, I'll show you what one looks like. This is what one looks like. So you just get it in there and go back and forth and back and forth. I then had it back together, and when I started up, I noticed that I was hearing a lot of singing coming off my heating element. Now, my heating element is clean now, but by singing I mean it was making noise and hissing, and usually they're quiet when you turn on the electric heating element. When I took this out, it was covered with white stuff deposit, calcium, whatever that was. It was the same stuff that's on here. It was all blossomed off of it. My initial thought was to just replace this, but later I found out I could pretty much clean it off and clean it up, which I did. I also went on a little hunt for these. There's a couple of different videos with people replacing them with even like residential heating elements, and that may be okay in this. I'm not exactly sure. One thing I know is that the standard Suburban one is 1440 watts, 120 volts. It says it right on it, and it's pretty good length. Now, if you get a universal replacement, like here's a little Camco. First off, it's not 1440 watts. It's 1500. So it's 60 watts more. Is that significant? I don't know. It's also a lot shorter. Since it's shorter, I guess we could make the claim that it's going to have less surface area. Since it has less surface area, it may not heat the tank as efficiently as this one. I mean. However, since this one is a little hotter, I would think maybe it heats the tank equally as well. So I don't know. This had some type of a black coating on it. It's coming off in a few places. It's copper underneath it. It has a copper base. This appears to be, I would think it's nickel coated. It's got some type of nickel coating on it. Nickel plated, I would think. That's what they're doing there. So those are the two elements. Now, when you go to take this out, you have to remove the cover. You have to take off the little heating burner thing there. And there's a good video on that. I'll reference it in the link below. A guy did a good job on that. One thing that he uses the tool, standard tool, looks like this, and you have your element in here. Be very careful whenever you're threading anything into these, because if you cross thread it and go to town cranking down on it, you're going to need a whole new hot water heater, which is a major disassembly, and you have to get this whole unit out. So you want to take your time when you're putting any type of a threaded bolt into this thing. Now, this is the typical setup here. The tool they sell is a Camp Cold tool, and it's a pretty sloppy fit. It's designed to be used with a screwdriver, and it's not really that great because you're knocking into things, and it's got the wrong angle, and you can't get at it too easily. You can easily kind of cut your fingers on this stuff. You can't tighten it down very well. So I'll show you what I did. I ended up getting two of these things. I had mail ordered one, and then I need one sooner, so I bought one at an RV joint. They're only about $6 or $7. But this is the same. Well, this is a different one, but it's the same tool. And what I did was took my Dremel, my trusty Dremel, out with the cut-off disc in the end of it, and I cut all these grooves in the end of it. Now what that does, here I have a 10-inch monkey wrench. I always have a fondness for monkey wrenches. I'm not sure why, but I guess I just like monkeying around with them. And it is a perfect example of doing some monkeying. Anyways, so now we can easily use our monkey wrench to tighten this, and it gives us many more spaces where we can grab it, and get down on it, tighten it up that way, and it's much easier. And the same with removal. We can easily get our monkey on it, and we can hold it far out so we get lots of leverage. Push in on this so we have nice contact on the base, and go right around. So this is a little upgrade to the standard tool. So you need a 10-inch monkey, which are cheap. They're cheap. And obviously this one came from Home Depot since it's orange. And then this is like a $7 or $8 pipe, essentially, is all it is. But between the two of them, it's good to get yourself a little tool set up there. Now, one of the things I want to warn you about, because I was stupid enough to do this, was that once I had this out, I could see there was a lot of debris in there, and I said, hey, I'll get my wand in there and go to town cleaning it all, which I did. However, then I realized that, see, there's a space here, so if water comes out of this hole, it will go down here. Some of it will end up in a sump. It's like a fiberglass sump area below the hot water heater, but some of it's going to run under the hot water tank and flood out that utility compartment, under your bed, and so that's bad. So it is best to have this sealed up and do not flush with this open, because the danger of water going down here is real. It'll also go to where your cord is stored over there, and there's also a chance you can splash water into your switch over here and short out this rocker switch, which I do not believe is a waterproof switch here. I believe it's kind of a cheapo switch they got in there. This is the weirdest switch, how, you know, off is with the toggle up, and it's reversed. So anyways, that's something else I wanted to talk to you about. And one last thing I wanted to suggest to you, let me get this. Now this has to do with the burner, which is right here. Now you got to take this off before you can service these elements, and it's pretty easy to come off. You can get a 7/16 wrench here, and you loosen it up, and there's a nut on the bottom. You take this off, and you can take this out. It's kind of a bitch to go in and out, and the reason why that is the case is because this housing here tends to have a real burr on it, and it grabs this pipe, so it won't go in and out easy. You can see it was really grabbing on that side. So I went in with my Dremel and I smoothed that out nice and smooth. The Dremel has a little tubular carbide bit. You can get in there and smooth that out. And now it'll be much easier to get back in place. The way you do this is, you know, you put this end in, get it up in there. Get it up in there loose, don't put it real tight. But make sure the threads are going pretty good, you know, but not tight. And then you can come around with this side here. I've got this loose too, it's not tight. And then you can, there's some flex in this, so don't worry, you can push in a little bit, then you can slide it in. Yeah, I already got the nut off the bottom. And see, now I could drop that right in there. And that's how you put that back. But before when I'd had, you know, it's stock, there was a real burr there. It actually cut my fingers, and this stuff will cut you everywhere, so be careful. So now it's much easier to get in and out, and it's pretty easy to get this off too. So there's a couple of hints for you today on probably one of the most persnickety pieces of equipment that comes with your trailer. You may notice a couple of other things that are different from the stock one. I have a little drain hole here I put in. It goes through the housing, has a little copper tube on the bottom of it, or a brass tube I mean, and what that does is lets the water go straight out, not into the sump. And you know, I don't want water filling up in here at all. It will eventually go overboard here, but it's pretty deep by the time it goes overboard, and I don't want it. If your trailer is tilted or you're going around a corner, it's tilted, it could be high enough so it could start sloshing through these holes and into the trailer. Especially this one. This is not watertight, this hole. Oh, well, this has a covering over it, so it's basically watertight. But the switch isn't watertight. There's a little hole here on either side. Those aren't watertight. So you want to keep the water level in here as low as possible. So that little drain helps out. I also sealed this, yeah, so that moisture didn't get underneath that lip. So that's what I have to share with you. Oh, one other last thing. This little rubber push button gasket here, it actually decayed and started to crack through, so I put some Permatex gasket maker on there. I'll let that seal up overnight, and that'll give me a flexible surface to push on. It'll also keep the water out, because of course you've got to open this to purge, and also when you're filling your tank, it's good to open this occasionally until you see a little bit of water start coming out. You can do that, or you open your faucets, but I like doing this rather than pushing a lot of air through my you know, trailer water lines if I don't have to. So we'll stop here, and I hope you have enjoyed watching this little video. Hope it was of some value to you, and I hope you have some happy trailering fun. That's all for today from the Casita Commander.